1990s was was one of the most popular decades in history. The 1990s rap music for African Americans. This is when African Americans really started to shine. 1990s, we had the Brat, we had TLC, we had Biggie Smalls, Tupac Shakur, and Tupac Shakur was one of the most famous of the 1990s era. Before he was killed in '96, he was gunned down in '96. Also, Biggie Smalls was also popular too before he was gunned down. And their music was more realer compared to nowadays in the 2000s, 2020s. 90s, we had concerts. Millions of people would go out to concerts. I know Tupac Shakur was always popular. He was always in the news. He's always getting arrested. He was into poetry. A lot of people say that Tupac Shakur was a wannabe. He was not a thug. He didn't grow up in the gutter. He wasn't a gang member. He wasn't a psychotic. Into his music, he portrayed himself as a thug, a wannabe, when in real life he was barely a friendly guy. I think he wanted to make himself look bad with a tattoo, and then he had to shave, his head was shaved bald, and he had a little goatee, which kind of made him look like a thug. He was like 25 years old, but he looked like he was about 35. He looked a lot older than 24, 25 years old. But Biggie Smalls was kind of the opposite. He was a big old tall black guy, 6'4", 6'5", but he had that baby face. He didn't have any facial hair, so Biggie Smalls, he was like maybe 24, 25, but he looked like he was about maybe 17, 18. But anyway, they were both good rappers. Then you had Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg was a little creepy. He had a little villain look. He like that guy from Aladdin, that villain. Snoop Dogg had that little angry, I think when he was a baby, his mom called him Snoop because he looked innocent. I don't know. His nickname was Snoop. That's why people call him Snoop Dogg. But Snoop Dogg was a tall, skinny black guy with dreads, and the way he sing was just so creepy. He was kind of like a creepy. His music videos was creepy too. Master P was very popular. Master P is a very nice, friendly guy. He's not as bad as as he's portrayed his music. There's a lot of rappers who portray themselves as angry, violent people, but they're not in real life. It's like acting. You're acting, you're pretending. Most of these guys are pretending. This is when they start putting women degrading women up by putting them in rap views, and they start dancing and shaking their butts in bikinis. These guys, black guys, will put black girls in their music videos, and they brag. Most of these rap videos, they brag about having all the money, the cars, the jewelry, the life. It's just bragging. There was a lot of people. Ice Cube was very popular in the 1990s. He did a couple of movies and stuff like that. He was very hardcore. I know Ice-T was popular among the 1990s too. I think Ice-T, the light-skinned guy, because most people thought light-skinned guys were kind of soft because they're light-skinned, they have an easier life. As far as I know, I think Ice-T had a very hard life. He proved everybody wrong. Who said that light-skinned guys can't rap. He's one of the most famous. He's a multi-millionaire, Ice-T. He proved that light-skinned guys can be hardcore rappers. But the 1990s I know TLC was famous because they had TLC, Ashley, Chili, T-Boz, and Lisa Lopez. They were African American girls. Everybody thought African American girls were considered easy and not, friendly, and they were just no. They proved everybody wrong. They were good rappers. They were one of the most famous black female rappers in history, or any race. They won awards. The only thing about the TLC was they were cheated. They wasn't making them. The producers were stealing money from them because they were young. They were in their 20s. They thought they were slow black girls. They were smart black girls. They knew how much money they lost, how much money they needed. They wasn't making no money. The producers were stealing their money. They were only making $50,000 a year. They were supposed to be making almost $1 million a year. They were only making about $50,000 a year. They were making no money. But anyway, they did a couple of good songs too in the 1990s. They did Don't Go Waterfalls, Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls. I remember watching that song a lot when I was like 5 or 6 years old. And they did Scrubs. That was a lot of guys was angry about that. It humiliated guys. It was a diss to black guys who don't have jobs and stuff like that. But I'm pretty. That girls who are self-conscious about their looks, even pretty girls are self-conscious about their looks. So they made a lot of good music. Then you had Criss Cross. They were pretty popular in the 1990s. Criss Cross, the guy who played Criss Cross, I know he died a couple years back. There was Criss Cross was popular too because you got a dark-skinned black guy, and then you had a light-skinned black guy. These were teenagers. They were like 12, 13 years old, and you see 12, 13 year olds who can rap like that, and they were just different because they wore the pants backwards. But they were very controversy rappers. Mr. J here, peace.